Hey guys, my name's G. Tonight I'm just going to teach you a few basic recipes to impress your friends. We're going to do this Middle Eastern style and all out on the barbecue. So we're making some Middle Eastern flatbreads and we're going to coat them with some delicious za'atar, which is a Middle Eastern spice. So firstly we need to get the yeast going. So we add a teaspoon of caster sugar and 8 grams of dry yeast, and we just whisk that up. And we just need that to sit in a warm spot for 10 minutes while the yeast starts to activate. Okay, so the yeast looks ready. It's been there for 10 minutes. Now we need to add, I've got 500 grams of bread flour here. You can use plain flour if you want. I'm adding half a teaspoon of salt. I've got sea salt here, cooking salt's fine. And about a tablespoon of olive oil. That did not look like a tablespoon. And we're just gonna add our yeast into the bowl. I'm going to use my hands, and we're just going to start mixing it until the wet mix starts combining with the flour. If the mix is too dry, it doesn't matter at all, just add a little bit more water, and if it's too wet, do the same, just add a little bit more flour. And it'll start to combine soon. My hand is so heavy. Oh. Okay, it's all combined. I did a little bit of kneading in the bowl. So we just need to knead it for about 10 minutes. Okay, I'm really messy when I cook, if you haven't noticed. And if you're lucky, like me, I'm gonna chuck it in the KitchenAid because it's starting to get a bit puffed. And I'll let it do the work for me. So because I've kneaded the dough quite a bit before, I'm just going to put it on for maybe about 5 minutes, but I'm going to keep an eye on it just to, really you could walk away, not much harm can be done. Cool. Okay, so, yep, that looks good. You can see it's sort of silky and smooth. There we go, feels so great. Okay, so just tuck those bits under. I'm gonna line this bowl with a bit of olive oil and the dough as well. And then I'm gonna cover it with a bit of cling film. And we're just gonna let it prove and let the yeast activate for about an hour. Now we can start getting the eggplant on the barbecue. Okay, so to go with our flatbreads tonight, we're making a Middle Eastern dip, baba ghanoush. The main ingredient is an eggplant. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna cook it whole, we're gonna chuck it on the barbecue. I've got it on a pretty high heat. So we're just gonna throw it on for about 40 minutes. And I'm gonna turn it every 10 to 15. And what we're looking for is the skin to be very flaky, the eggplant will start to sink in, and that will mean that the flesh is cooking. And that's what gives us the really smoky flavor, which is baba ghanoush. Okay, I've just come out to check the eggplant. It's looking good. It's looking hollow, the skin's flaking back, it smells really smoky, quite burnt, which is what we're after. That gives us a smoky flavour, so I'm gonna take it off the barbecue. Okay, so I've got the eggplant off the barbecue. As you can see, it's starting to fall apart. I've put it in a sieve just to drain out any of the excess liquid. So I'm gonna start peeling off the dark skin because we don't want any of that. Feels so great. Yeah, I'm concentrating really hard. Well, good, keep the seeds, don't get rid of the seeds. So straight in. This is super easy. Everything just goes in the food processor. So let's get this out of the way, the mess. Just gonna wash my hands, sorry. Dry it on my apron, not meant to do that. Okay, so I've toasted some cumin seeds. I think that was about a teaspoon. You'll know when they're ready because they start to smell very fragrant. And if you don't have the whole cumin seeds, just buy ground cumin seeds from the shop. That's perfectly okay as well. Okay, so now the cumin's been pounded up, I'm gonna add a garlic clove. and a bit of sea salt, maybe about a half a teaspoon, just to help pound up the garlic and mince it. Okay, I'm only going to do that roughly because the food processor is going to do all the other work for me. Don't want to spend too much time on that. Straight in. Let's add juice of a whole lemon. We can add more later and balance the flavors with the salt, but for now, let's go with that. Okay, so now we need to add the tahini, which is just sesame seed paste. So that goes straight in. Awesome. I'm gonna put a squirt of olive oil, and I'll probably add more later. Okay, on with the lid. Looking good. Okay, so I've whizzed that enough. It looks pretty good. I'm just gonna give it a taste. Okay, it tastes delicious. I'm not gonna add anything else. Good. Okay, so our dough looks like it has doubled in size and it's looking good. So I'm just gonna get it out of the, knock it back a bit, which is just taking the air out of it, fancy term, and flip the dough out. Now, we can start rolling our flatbread. So I'm just gonna flour the surface ever so lightly. Pop our dough on. Look how great it is. Okay, so the easiest way to divide it is into halves. Using the dough cutter the wrong way. Okay, so let's focus with this one first. And again. I'm not a baker, as you can tell. I reckon that looks pretty good for size. So let's start rolling. Okay, so once you finish each flatbread, I've just got a dish here that I'm going to take out to the barbecue with me. In between each layer, it's probably best just to line it with a bit of baking paper so they don't stick to each other. Cool, so now we can head out to the barbecue and start cooking them. Follow me. Okay, what we're after are those nice dark grill lines that you get from having a really hot barbecue like that. They'll only take about 1 minute to 2 minutes on either side. What you're looking for, the bubbles, they start puffing up. So I've coated the other side with a little bit of oil and I'm gonna sprinkle some za'atar on it. It's just a really typical Middle Eastern spice. It's made up of thyme, sesame seeds and sumac. There you have it, your za'atar grilled Middle Eastern flatbread and your smoky, delicious baba ghanoush.